I am very excited to be sitting down for our next partner session with the connected TV advertising platform Publica. Joining me this afternoon is Ben Antier, the co-founder and the chief executive officer of Publica, as well as Andrew McCollum, the chief executive officer of Philo. And I'm looking forward to talking to both of you about the intersection of subscription and ad-supported streaming now and in the future. Thank you so much, Ben. Thank you so much, Andrew, for joining us today.
Thanks, Kelsey. Great to be here.
Yeah, likewise.
Let's start things off with you, Ben. I would love for you to set the stage for our audience. Can you give us a quick overview of Publica? And then can you let us know how Publica and Philo work together?
Absolutely. So very excited to be here. First of all, congrats for the amazing show you guys have put on, and we're very happy to be a part of it. So Publica is a connected TV ad server. So what that means is we obsess about two things: maximizing ad revenue for publishers and delivering a TV level user experience to the end user. So we've built the platform to be what we call programmatic first. So providing the most advanced yield mechanisms to deliver the most value for the publishers for every single ad opportunity. And we developed a lot of intelligence around the concept of the ad pod. How do we construct an ad break with non-competitive ads, non-duplicate ads, obviously, but also think about the session holistically to make sure that we're delivering an experience just like TV. And that's exactly how we work with Philo. We bring our ad serving capabilities and have seen a lot of success in helping them grow the ad supported business and integrate with their different product suites.
Absolutely. And Andrew, I'd also love for you to set the stage for Philo. I imagine most of our audience knows Philo, but can you give us a tiny bit of background on this on Philo and how it's looking to grow in 2021, particularly when it comes to the ad-supported side of things?
Yeah, Philo is a streaming TV service. We provide a package of, right now, 63 channels that are all generally entertainment, lifestyle, knowledge focused. It's most of the channels you'd think about getting from a cable provider other than the broadcast sports and news channels. And, you know, we really set out when the company was founded to build just a better experience of watching TV. And we have a pretty ruthless focus on trying to deliver the greatest value to our subscribers, but do it in a really pleasant product experience in a really fair way, and create something people really love as much as the shows that they watch. And, you know, Philo, we've been quite successful, you know, since we launched the service about 3.5 years ago in growing. We're excited to keep up what we've done. Advertising is a really big part of our business. It's a huge part of what allows us to keep the price of Philo low. You know, it's only $20 a month, and basically we haven't raised our prices across the board since we launched 3.5 years ago. And a big part of our ability to do that, other than us managing our own cost, is building the ad business and using that as a way to support the low price that we offer. We also have, you know, always served our advertising programmatically. We've basically done essentially 100% programmatic advertising from the beginning. So partners like Publica have been really instrumental in you know, getting that up to scale and making that work as the company has grown.
Absolutely. I want to take a quick step back and talk about how streaming and all of these, you know, options that consumers have, how has that changed the way that people consume television? Maybe, Andrew, we can start with you in terms of what you see at Philo specifically, and then we can take, you know, the bird's eye view from Ben and kind of what you're seeing with all of your partners.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I think that it's sort of, there's sort of two sides to the coin. I think in one side of the coin is that things are completely changing and that people are adopting streaming services. They are canceling traditional TV services. They have much higher expectations for what they get from the video experience, what it should cost, how it should be packaged. There's whole new categories like AVOD, ad-supported video on demand, and fast channels, et cetera. And all these entertainment companies also bringing their own direct-to-consumer offerings. On the other hand, I don't think the actual behavior of people has changed as much as you might think based on the news. People who use Philo are still watching in very similar ways to the way they were watching on cable. They're just doing it with a better product, more choice over the packaging, lower price, and maybe on new devices, on phones and tablets and computers, in addition to televisions. But still, the vast majority of our usage is on televisions, and people are spending 3.5, 4 hours a day watching Philo, just like they were spending 3.5, 4 hours a day watching TV content before. So in a lot of ways, the kind of need that long form video entertainment fills in people's lives hasn't changed as much as you might think based on the way it's talked about in the press. But I think that in a lot of ways it is evolving and becoming much more consumer friendly in terms of how the product is offered and how it's packaged and how it's priced. And certainly, the changes around the advertising side, which are less visible to consumers, are massive.
Yeah, I completely agree with all of that. I think the optionality is huge. The fact that people can now watch pretty much anything anywhere at any time. That's been a game changer. And when we look at the transitions from traditional TV to streaming, it's not nothing's changing. To Andrew's point about the habits of turning on a TV and watching it. It's just that now there's more content available at a more affordable price, and so there's just more compelling stuff to watch, right? So I think that's really why we've seen the shift is first and foremost because of the viewership trends that people are looking for. But I think it's also a lot of it is due to the technical infrastructure that has evolved tremendously over the past few years, right? Today, you're able to stream in full HD over the internet, insert targeted advertising, which is a huge part of the business model, right? Which kind of increases the lifetime value of the user. And as a result, that gives a lot more flexibility and possibilities for the publishers, because now you can, have skinny bundles, for example, which is how Philo is seeing a lot of its success. And I think the combination of this incredible library of content that's now available everywhere, and the technical infrastructure to support the business model around subscription plus ad supported, is really those two things coming together is why we're seeing that trend accelerate today.
Absolutely. And, Ben, you alluded to this a little bit, as did you, Andrew, but sort of the things that happen behind the scenes. So the consumer, you might not notice, but the ads are being served totally differently in this environment. And I wonder sort of how has streaming changed advertising? How do you expect that to continue to evolve in the future as these sort of the tech infrastructure is being laid and is being updated and tweaked to sort of meet the needs of modern advertising? Ben, I'll toss that question to you.
Sure. So I think it's going to revolutionize everything. It's going to change the way that advertising is done completely. I think streaming and connected TV in particular is going to become not only the central piece in, for example, the household graph, right? So the ability to understand at the household level who's watching what type of content on what kind of device, but it's also going to be the center of the marketing mix. I think moving forward, we're basically now giving access to any advertiser to the most premium format that's ever existed, which is, you know, the big screen in the middle of the living room, and you don't have to spend $10 million to run a TV commercial today, right? And so as a result, I think more and more advertisers are starting with that, you know, increasing their brand exposure, and then we're working around that to say, okay, how do I get, you know, a second touch point on mobile, or how do I get, you know, something on the web following that? So I think it's completely changing the paradigm of the way advertising is done. And I think as we continue to build more solutions for audience targeting, but also for measurement, I think it's only going to accelerate that trend.
Absolutely. Andrew, I want to dig into Philo one more time. Maybe I'll do it another time before the session is up, but can you tell us who Philo's core customer base is, how that has been changing, and how that translates, you know, for Philo's programmers, but also for Philo's advertisers?
Yeah, in many ways, Philo's user base is quite broad and demographically diverse. We do lean female. About 60% of our users are women, which is different than many other streaming services, especially the ones that are more sports focused. You know, from a geographic and you know, geographic perspective, from an income perspective, we really run the gamut and span the whole range. In fact, one of the things that was sort of surprising is that we expected when we launched the publicly available version of Philo that the user base was going to be lean much more towards younger people in their 20s and 30s, you know, who were sort of technology early adopters. And while we do have, you know, a lot of those folks who use Philo, the surprising thing was that actually our user base looks a lot more like the US at large from an age perspective, and folks in their 40s and 50s are the largest cohort of users on Philo, just as they're the largest cohort of the population. And we had plenty of people in their 60s, 70s, and 80s who were signing up and using Philo, or maybe their grandkids were signing them up and they were using Philo. But we were surprised at how broad it was. We definitely do over-index in sort of urban and multicultural audiences, but you know, it's definitely a pretty broad group of people that are using Philo, and you know, we are well represented in sort of every cohort and geography that you could care about. But you know, definitely the entertainment lifestyle focus of our service. You know, it's the bulk of the content we offer, and it's a big part of the appeal. So lots of folks are signing up for Philo to watch channels like, you know, HGTV and you know, Food Network and Discovery Channel and you know, AMC and these sort of more entertainment lifestyle focused networks, which I think you know, is a great fit for having an advertising supported service and being a great place for advertisers to have their content, their advertising content displayed.
Absolutely. And you teed this up nicely, Andrew. So thank you, because I wanted to ask sort of, you know, when a streaming service attracts a customer that is, you know, watching HGTV on Philo and not on linear, not on traditional TV, you know, in the same vein, a streaming service can attract an advertiser who, you know, might be historically absent from a traditional TV ad buy. So there's sort of a match there. And I wonder, you know, Ben, maybe this question is for you or maybe for Andrew. What trends are you seeing in terms of the types of advertisers that are migrating over to connected TV and streaming services like Philo, or are spending for the first time on TV programming delivered in this way?
Yeah, I think I would see three types of advertisers emerge. There's the traditional digital buyers that, you know, this just makes sense. This is internet based, you know, they're familiar with the buying platforms. You can use your traditional DSP, SSP. I mean, all that, you know, is just very, very logical and obviously very attractive because it's a great format with great content. Then you've got the traditional TV buyers, and the way that we're starting to see those buyers lean into the space is by doing a lot of negative targeting against audiences. So taking an audience that they know they've hit before and basically targeting their ads away from that audience, right? And that's an incredible way to do reach extension. And, Andrew's describing the type of users that are on Philo. I mean, it's not just 18 to 25-year-olds, right? For a while, people thought, well, I'll do my ads on TV and then I'll do a little bit of Instagram and that'll cover no, the problem is now, the majority of people don't watch TV through a traditional cable package. So that's a big use case. And then the third one that I'm personally very excited about, and I think it's just kind of starting, is the traditional social advertisers that realize that they can pretty much target the same audiences, right, with the same type of precision, but instead of being in a user-generated newsfeed, they're in the most premium screen in the household. And I think that becomes kind of very exciting for all of us in the space, because there's a huge untapped potential there in terms of new advertisers that are going to continue to enter the CTV space in the next few years.
Yeah, I think personally there's a shift that's happening and has been happening for a long time, but is long overdue and has been very slow to really play out, which is that, nothing really compares to television advertising for the ability to tell a message, a story about a brand or a product over 30 or 60 seconds when you have their full attention on this big, beautiful screen with great sound. You just cannot compare with that medium for the ability to deliver a marketing message. But what you're getting now with streaming television is you have the same extremely effective, powerful medium, but you now have access to the measurement, targeting, and soon interactivity that digital has enjoyed for a long time in television. And I think that is a massive change and improvement to how the advertising is delivered and consumed. And it is taking a while for people to adjust to that new future. But ultimately, I believe the people who adapt more quickly and make that transformation sooner are really going to benefit from it, because you have all these amazing new tools at your disposal. And a TV, an ad that runs on Philo, it's running alongside the same content as someone would have seen it on traditional TV. But it can be targeted directly to that person. That they saw it, that they watched it, how many times they've seen it, and that they, that you haven't hit them over the head 10 times with the same ad. And, you have all these tools to make it a much more effectively delivered message. And I think that, this is going to be transformational, but it definitely takes time to move the behemoth of television advertising and get it to adapt to the new reality that streaming creates.
Absolutely. And Andrew, you led into an audience question that I think is a really interesting one, which is, how can we sort of encourage that shift, encourage advertisers to spend more with ad-supported platforms and publishers? And maybe, I would like both of you to answer that if you're interested. Ben, maybe you can go first, and then I'll toss it back to you, Andrew.
Yeah, and first, Andrew just said the most important thing in his previous comment, right? I think the ability to measure and iterate, is going to be so transformational for the whole industry, and people who lean into that are going to see such huge benefit, right? And it doesn't take weeks of panels to know whether an ad is received well. It could be really pretty much immediate that you can know how are people receiving it. So I think that's a huge part of all this. And I think it's all going to be about giving those measurement insights as quickly as possible. That's what's going to get more and more advertisers to not only dip their toes, but to jump right into streaming advertising, because it's really unmatched what we can provide. And I think it's just about surfacing those signals in an efficient way for buyers to not only get them, interpret them, but then act on them, right? Make a decision on, okay, I'm going to double down here. I'm going to remove this creative that's not performing as well. And that's what I think is going to get more advertisers into this.
Yeah, I think it's a few different things. I think the obvious one is just continuing to drive greater scale and the awareness that that brings among advertisers that this is a vertical and a direction that they should pay attention to and be headed in. Obviously, millions of people a year are transitioning from traditional TV to streaming TV, so that we more than doubled in scale in the past 12 months. So this is happening fast, but it does, there's a big existing install base in traditional television, and it will take time before streaming becomes the majority way that people watch TV. But I think it is inevitable that in the 5 to 10 year time frame, watching TV through a traditional provider will feel as strange as putting rabbit ears on your television does today. So that's one, is just greater scale. Second, I think that it's about experimentation and people seeing the results, and us and other companies and like Publica and other people in the space, sharing the success that people have had with the platform and letting others sort of see that there's real value and leaning into it. And then the third thing is just what we've been talking about here, which is building smarter tools that provide better, more effectiveness of the advertising, do a better job offering deduplication and competitive separation and smart ad decisions. Even though the targeting capabilities are quite advanced, a lot of folks still aren't really taking full advantage of that in how they're serving their advertising. And the more that folks adopt those tools and we are able to make smarter ad decisions about what to show, the more benefit that's going to deliver to advertisers, and the more people are going to adopt these tools. I think already what's there today is, light years better than what was available in the past, but it's only going to improve from here. It's only going to get better, even to the point of, like I was just talking about, creating things like interactivity in the ads, creating things like experiences across screens. We just started to launch features on Philo that, for example, let you open the Philo app on your phone and use it as a way to browse content and control the playback on your television. That's a great functionality for users just to replace the crappy remote that comes with your, Roku or whatever it is, with the very, the much better interface of your phone. But it also creates all these interesting opportunities for social connection, for shared viewing experiences, and to do interesting things with the advertising, where you see a product or service that's advertised in the show you're watching, and maybe you can actually transact or interact with that brand with your phone without interrupting the experience at all. And those kinds of opportunities, I think, are really exciting in the future and will, again, really accelerate this shift.
Absolutely. Well, Ben and Andrew, thank you so much for joining us. Before I say goodbye for the afternoon, I would love to head to the key takeaways that we can go over to leave the audience with before we move on to our next session.
Sure, yeah, and I can run through these really quick. So, the main takeaways, I think, is that ad tech infrastructure and products need to be built for streaming TV in order to be effective in streaming TV, right? You can't do the things that Andrew just talked about, multi-screen and things like that, if you aren't built for this space and you're trying to adjust some web display component to make it work in this environment. So it's incredibly important, and it's been a huge reason for why streaming has seen so much success in the past few years. The second point is around subscription plus ad-supported streaming, which might be a new acronym there. Is really an incredibly efficient model to not only bring great content to viewers, but also increase the lifetime value of each user in order to continue to make a service better. So, for a while we thought it was going to be either, the Netflix model or the ad-supported model. Turns out, well, no, it's actually a mix of both that's winning right now, and I think that's great for everybody. And then what we just talked about, with the rise of programmatic TV, lots of advertisers are discovering TV advertising for the very, very first time. And as that becomes, you know, more and more thing, and social advertisers lean into this, I think there's just going to be a massive influx of new brands that are coming into play, and it's going to make, you know, unified yield and the programmatic ecosystem even more relevant and important, because there's just going to be more to optimize.
Absolutely. Well, Ben, thank you so much. Andrew, thank you so much. I really appreciate you both taking the time and joining us today for the second day of AdWeek's Convergent TV Summit. So thank you both.